I am so glad to have all of you here with us tonight. Some of you are friends and ex-colleagues of Hendry. Um, we have a guest from Indonesia. It's a pleasure to greet and welcome all of you from Indonesia. My name is Daylon. I'm the founder of the education startup CuriousCore, and we specialize in training professionals like yourself in user experience design. And the reason why we are doing this event is because we realize that COVID has affected a lot of people, and it has caused a lot of physical events to not happen. And as a result of that, there's a missing venue and missing opportunity for people to learn more about user experience design, and kind of like dive a lot deeper into learning these skills, right? So what happens after you graduate from design school? What happens after you come out and you start working? So today we're very honored to have Hendry, and I'll love to have a chat with him with regards to the Indonesian market, or specifically, which is one of the fastest growing market in the world. And at the same time, I also love to have his perspective because he works for an agency. And as a result, I think there's some really interesting perspective from the agency side as well. So for those of you who are joining us on Facebook Live, welcome as well. I'm Daylon, and this is Hendry here. So let me give Hendry a proper introduction. So Hendry is currently the director of UX at Wunderman Thompson Indonesia. He has a unique background as a designer because he has worked both in product design and as well as experience design and advertising. And his experience spans from becoming a creative director to designing digital products, right? For some of the biggest names in Indonesia, like BCA, Traveloka, which you might have heard of, FMCG clients like Unilever and Nestle. And I think being in the agency world has pushed him to be a generalist. He is a very curious person, as you can see from the books that he has in his background. You might not see all the titles, but
just to show how smart I am.
Yeah, you might not see everything. He's kind of like in a dark room right now, but he's got a lot of design books, lots of interesting posters, and I'm really excited to start this. I hope I didn't miss out anything about you, Hendry. So let me know if I did the introduction well.
It's perfect.
Okay, wonderful. So Hendry, let's start by this discussion, right, that we had before this official chat and conversation. Why should people join agencies versus tech companies if they are a creative talent that's graduating from school today, or have like the skills and the smarts? Why should they join an agency?
You start with a very hard question at first, yeah.
Sure.
I think it's based on preference, right? I think I put an analogy like this, right? If you're working in a tech company, right, it's like you're working like in a nice one country, for example, like Singapore, right? You get all the best stuff, you eat the best croissant, you drink the best coffee, right? But agency is like you're working in different kind of country every single week, This week you might end up in Malaysia, next week you might end up in Indonesia, right? And you working agency will see a lot of different perspectives. Like myself today, I have met 4 different clients and 4 different backgrounds, and that's something that is special from this kind of industry, that working in an agency give you so broad as a different kind of level of perspective, right? And that's why there's some actually big tech clients who want to work with us, right? That's because we can take from one story of one brand and apply it to another brand. So we can give them a whole lot of perspective, whole lot of solution that can help the brand to grow, right? And I think that's the first thing that I think that I'm going to say about that. And the second thing actually is people will ask that, hey, tech industry should pay more, right? I think that's something that we at Wunderman Thompson try to do all the time, and we see a lot of agencies are trying to do the same. Actually, actually we see some of our people from tech industry have to move to the agency as well, because talking remuneration, right, we actually try to put it on the same level of everybody else, because we understand that if you want to deliver good work, we need to have a best talent industry. And I think the third things that a lot of people will ask about is actually the working culture itself, right? Working culture wise, I know if you've heard about agency, some of you guys might think that a lot of people dies working for agency, right? I think last year there's a Densu copywriter die. Last few years there's someone from Jakarta die. So it's kind of crazy. The working people will think that agency have a very crazy working hours. It might be true years back, but we are working very hard to change that actually. At our company right now, we put a lot of our energy to actually put people working 8 hours a day, not more than that, because we understand that working whole day is not good for your health. It's not good for your inspiration as well. So we try to do that a lot. I think at the end of the day, the only things that for me is the biggest difference is your preference. Do you like to work in company that you want to work in one product specifically all the time, or you want to work different kind of brand every single week?
Yeah,
I think that's one of my biggest perspective about that.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is number one reason is because there is variety, and that you get to learn a lot of new things when you're working in an agency. So it's a great way to start a career. Number two, as well, you were mentioning several advantages about working in an agency with the people and with the culture, which you're kind of transforming right now. There's the perception there's an unhealthy work culture, but that's all changing as agencies are growing and you're investing more in talent and you're developing talent along the way. So I used to work in an agency myself. I was part of WPP, so I've seen both sides of the table and both sides of the world.
Yeah, I don't think it's like one is better than the others. It's basically based on what you want to do in life, right? I think both can give you very different advantages. Both can give you different kind of challenge. So pick the one that you like the most. I think that's the most important one.
Yeah, I think that's great. And one of the things I do fondly remember is the people that I work with in agencies, because everyone kind of knows everyone and everyone's like in the trenches, and you feel very close to them because you go through a lot together.
Yeah.
And people are usually more casual. They're more like friendly. It's not so serious all the time. And yeah, so I do remember that kind of culture is quite different. I'm glad I started my career there. In the agency world. So
because a lot of agency people are very young people, right? So that's why we want things to be more flexible and fun most of the time, right?
Yeah, I think so. And there were a lot of beer nights, I remember. I'm not sure how that is. How's the agency culture in Indonesia? Were there a lot of after work events and things like that?
Yeah. I think working agency is like you're working like small family, right? Everyone's love to spend time with each other. Like some of my team members actually always go out at night with their friends, so they eat somewhere after their works, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's very different with if we talk about like tech or client side. Most of them more serious, right? 5 o'clock, go home, meet family, right? Like agencies, like 5 o'clock, go home. So where's the next place to go, right?
Yeah.
We always spend time with them and actually build a relationship with the team as well.
Okay, that's really wonderful. So tell me a little bit more about like what you do at work, right, as the director of UX, because we've talked to different guests and we talked to guests who work on the client side in the last couple of weeks. So I'm interested from an agency side, what does a director of UX do?
I think generally it's quite the same, right? Actually, we take a look at several kind of clients. So we have so a bit of background on Wunderman Thompson, right? Actually, we are still part of a advertising company, right? Because Wunderman Thompson is a merger of J. Walter Thompson, if you heard it before.
Yep.
There's a Wunderman, which is a commerce agency, and there's a Miro, which is a tech company. So we merged three into one. So a lot of our clients actually on the UX side or the product side is quite different with our advertising client. So I think one of the biggest job that I need to do is hunt my own client first. And after I have some people in my own, some brand in my rosters, right? Then we start to build things for them, right? And most of the project based. So each of client will come to us like, hey, we have specific tasks to do. How long you should think this is gonna take, and deliver them by project and by deliverables. So mostly, I think it's the biggest difference I think between the director in agency and the tech world is a lot of us work on different clients, and actually a lot of us need to hunt for business, and we need to deliver on very different kind of time. Normally, if you talk about the directors of product in like tech company, their goals is like KPIs, right? Okay, how we're gonna achieve this number? How's the conversion rate? Mine's a bit different. My goal is my target is how the revenue, right? So there's quite different kind of things that we are doing right now.
Okay, that's really wonderful because you get to handle P&L as I hear what you're saying quite early on, and you get to work with a lot of different clients as well. So that's probably one of the distinct differences. I also understand you have quite a large team, Hendry. Like, you want to share how your team is structured?
I don't have like a very large team. I do have around 6 people in my team right now. So,
okay.
So it's not a big team actually. So we have 66 people that just split to 2 different teams. So 3 each. And each will have different, normally we have 2 to 3 projects running all the time. So one will be consisting of 1 UX lead and 2 designers normally. And normally we actually collaborate with other departments as well in the company. So sometimes we might need a UX writer. So we work with the content department. Sometimes we need a research team, right? So we work together with our service design department. And sometimes the clients need a concept as well. So we have a service design department that support us as well.
Yeah.
So at point, the team is quite small, but we have different kind of supports to take different kind of projects.
Nice. And I think that's great. You have a lean team and quite a well-rounded team from what I understand. And it's really interesting because when we were having this conversation before the Zoom call, you were mentioning that you not only work in Indonesia, right, but you also work for clients that are around the region as well. So can you share a little bit more about the work that you do around the region and not just Indonesia?
I cannot specifically say the client is, but we work with some technology company, not technology, sorry, financial company in the region. I think so. They will normally come us with a brief of what they want to do, right? And actually we have so normally they have so when working with company in different regions, right? I think one of the biggest challenge is the distance, right, and the different kind of working styles. We're working with some client in Hong Kong. We're working with some client from Malaysia as well, and but working in this UX industry, we need to design not only for Indonesian market. So we normally use our counterpart agency in Malaysia or Hong Kong. So we search for their support. For example, like we have one project that we need a UX copywriter for Malaysia, right? And so we work with our network over there, and they will they will suggest, okay, we have 3 people that can help you on this. So they will send some cost to us, and we will dock it up and send across to the client side. And I think that's how normally the collaboration works between different kind of network. And actually we need to support this kind of clients where they have different kind of need, different kind of speed, and as an agency that be appointed, we will deliver everything on time.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing. And I want to place the focus on Indonesia, right? Because Indonesia is one of the most populous countries in the world. It's one of the top 5 most populous countries in the world. It's getting wealthier as well. There's a growing middle class income group. So tell me a little bit, how does it feel like to design campaigns or design products that are used by this many people, right? Like, can you share a little bit with us, what are some of the considerations when you launch something out there and there's like millions of people using it almost immediately?
I think the first thing is really stressful, right? Because you need to make sure that every single thing come out is perfect. That's the hardest part, right? And I think talking about the speed itself, I think as you said before, that Indonesia is the 5th populous country in the world.
Yeah.
And I think I just read this article a few years back saying that we are on route to become the 7th biggest economy by 2030. So everything are moving really fast right now. I think some of our clients actually demanding stuff, giving shorter and shorter duration every time we deliver some things. So we have several clients that have been working for us for 3 or 4 years.
Mm.
For example, like last time when they asked, hey, can you build us a brand website? This normally give at 3 to 6 months, three or 6 years back.
Yeah.
Right now they were like, can you get back in 1.5 months? Right. So things are, because every brand that we work on right now have a growth spurt because it's the whole economy is moving so fast, right? So what we do is we need to adapt our process very, very often, because a lot of people say that there's only one process, but in agencies, like, we need to adapt different kind of process to different kind of clients, because every single one will come with different kind of timeline. Every single one will come with different requirements. So we need to move our processes a lot. And regarding on the size itself, right? I think it's quite natural because we are the biggest, one of, as you say, the 5th biggest nation in the world, right? And it comes with a huge responsibility how we can design something that can deliver, right? Because if you talk about 1% conversion rate difference, for example, 1% in Singapore, for example, is for 1,000 people is only 1 people. Indonesia is 1% for 1 million is 10,000 people. So we need to make sure that we get the funneling right from the beginning and we get the design right. So what we always do is we make sure that every single things that come out from our office at least having 2 or 3 usability testing, minimum 2 normally, minimum 2.
Nice.
That's always the gold standard. That every time the client come to us, hey, we only have 2 months. We will always say that, hey, if you want 2 months, then but make sure that we always do 2 times UT before we launch it, because normally when we do once, when we iterate, there could be some problems that we miss, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So we always put 2 UTs to make sure that everything is safe when we push it out. So it's as market fit as possible.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you get to at least do 2 user tests before you launch your product or a website. And I think that's a lot more than quite a number of companies out there who don't actually test before they launch, right? And sometimes they launch with a lot of bugs and a lot of errors. So tell me a little bit more about, what are some of the unique challenges working in the Indonesian market, other than skill, right? Are there any other unique challenges?
I think is actually, it comes to the client itself, because if you, I talked to you before about this, right? There's actually a big gap between a big gap of knowledge between like a tech client and you're talking about FMCG clients. A huge gap, right? FMCG still see website as a brand, as a page. Right? They see it as a page, they see it as okay, I put it there and let it be, let it rot for years, right? But tech company will see, hey, this is website, with this product, I need to iterate every single month because I need to make sure the performance is getting better every single month, right?
Yeah,
it's always a challenge, because when we bring something to the FMCG client, we believe that's right. They will say, I don't need that all stuff. I need it live by next week, right? So there's a lot of convincing that we need to do to the FMCG clients. So they want to give time to do UT, for example. They want to give us time to do a heuristic study, for example. We need to always debate on that. Well, on the tech side, sometimes they understand everything, but what they want is speed, right?
Yeah.
So I think that disparity, that gap, always make us need to adapt every single time we meet new client. We need to check whether these clients falls under the advanced one or it falls under the not advanced one, and we need to find the right process and the right way to talk with them.
Yeah, it really sounds like your team. It feels like a SWAT team, right? Like you have to manage any kind of situation. You have to train your people really well, and any situation they go into, like they can just tackle the objective like a really great team. So that's really interesting to me. So when you're working with clients, right, and you're saying, hey, there are some clients who need a little bit more education, right? How do you approach that situation in a very delicate manner? Because you're after all, you're an agency, right? You're not like at the same level as your client. So how do you approach that conversation and say, hey, this is how we do things in UX?
I think that's a lot of, I think first of all is we need to play on the same field with them. I think we need to talk in the business levels, right? We need to talk to them because a lot of these FMCG clients, they are driven by sales, right? They want sales, they go sales. And I think talking in that same level of the understanding is the key things to make them understand what we're doing. And we always tell them that, hey, I know website is really important, because first of all, we will educate them. Hey, he will give you a brand image, right? And website itself should be always should have a function what user, because a lot of clients, FMCG client, they were always like, okay, I make a website as a product website, for example, or they like to do a lot of articles, for example. We need to educate them as people come to your website, what they are looking for. So, and sometimes when that kind of rules doesn't work, we will do a bit of research to show them, right? We do like a small in-depth interview, say that, hey, we talked to 5 of your users and this is what they feel. And we bring in that the result to them and discuss from there. So it can be, I think for my understanding, there's only 2 routes that I will go. The first one, I will educate them based on my understanding. The second one, I will like talk based on research. I think that's the strongest point that we can bring to them.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious because you mentioned a lot about collecting data and making sure that we are testing and ensuring that and for all those who are joining our Zoom call, and there's like suddenly a few more people streaming in. Thank you for joining. This is Hendry, and this is the director of UX for Wunderman Thompson in Indonesia. So I was just wondering, right? How do people respect data how easy it is to bring like data into the conversation when you're talking to clients?
I think it's quite easy. I think generally people understand how important it is actually. So far there's no problem about that in my experience. I think people understand that data is important, but I think every client right now, they want data. That's for sure. Some of our clients, they actually brief us specifically to make a website that can collect data. So we see that everyone wants to collect data, but the next point is how to activate that. I think not all people can activate their data well. So collecting is the easy part, but activation is the hardest part, right?
Can you elaborate more about activation? What do you mean by activation? Is there an example?
I think activation can stand for example, like we can do a remarketing campaign in the future, or even optimize the website based on the data that being collected, or even if from the data, can we do a new product based on that? So that kind of data activation, I don't think they do it quite a lot. They collect everything but don't know what to do with it.
Okay, that's wonderful. So I'm going to ask you a question, right? I would be very guilty to say that I am not good with numbers. And so I'm a designer. Let's say I'm a creative, I'm a designer. Should I start learning basic statistics and data and how to like handle data and stuff like that?
I don't think you should. It depends on your interest again. I see a lot of designers with different kind of style, right? Some designers are very focused on visuals, some are designers focus on research, some focus on data, some focus on concept. So it will vary based on what you want to do in your life, actually, in my opinion.
Okay, so how did you figure out what do you like doing? So in terms of where do you find like is your sweet spot as a creative person? Because obviously there must be something quite special about what you do. If not, you wouldn't be holding the position you're holding today. So how did you manage to find that sweet spot?
I think for years, one thing that I really like to do is how to solve problems, and I think that's something that actually bring me to advertising industry, right? Because whoever comes to you with problems and you need to find solution for them, and that thirst of fixing problem is something that driving me so far actually, and make me decide moving from creative to UX, where actually we can create something that are more usable for long term. As we discussed before, right, that ads doesn't last, but product lasts, right? And right, I think that's very key point for me that I want to do. That I want to create something that can help humans' life, right? Help people fixing their problems on on an everyday actually.
Yeah, I think that's such a great point. And I want to like just share that point of discussion that we talked about, right? And that point of discussion was I quit the advertising industry because I felt like the work I was doing could not last more than 3 months. And that's the reason I went into tech, so that I can build something and doing it and make it better and better. So, and you decide to join UX for the very same reason, but you still decide to kind of like stay within the advertising space. I think that's really great, and I'm really excited that even though you're working with such a tight timeline, you're able to bring in a data-driven process. You're able to do testing. You're still able to be very, very thorough and true to what user experience design is about, right? Which is working for your customer, solving problems and being customer centric and focused. So that's wonderful. Do you have any general, like career advice? What are some of the common things that you're seeing in terms of people that you're hiring? Like what advice would you give them?
I think for people that generally want to come to UX, right? I think
yeah.
I think I only have one advice actually. You need to understand that in the end of the day, you are creating for the user and the business. I see a lot of designers creating something, not understanding that. Right? Yeah. And I think it's really important that in the end of the day, you need to know that your design should sell. I remember this quote from John Maeda. This stick in my head so much for years, right? I heard in one of his podcasts, he say, it's really interesting to see how design are moving away from selling stuff, right? How design are so detached from selling stuff, where actually design was created to sell stuff before, right? Right.
Nice.
If you see a lot of people, I think a lot of designers like, hey, they want to create beautiful stuff, but they don't understand how to make something that sells.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important that people that jump to this industry, if you want to work in tech company, if you want to work in agency itself, you need to understand that in the end of the day, your work is for users, it's not for you. Right?
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that advice. We have our first question from Inka. Inka, hello. And Inka says hello to you, Hendry. And she asked, or he asked, I don't know what's your who are you? How many respondents or users do you usually have for UX research to make it valid? And also convince the client with it. Yeah. So I'll ask the first question first.
Yeah, I think we need to understand the law of diminishing return first. I think after certain numbers, the research is not valid anymore because it will find the same result, the pattern that exists already. I think it will generally based on the segment that you have. So if you have 10, or if you have 5 segments, I would say that at least have two per segments. That's the minimum. But if you have segments and you want to do research, I think the minimum number is 5. I think after 5, you will see the same pattern repeating itself actually. And the reason why we split based on segment as well is we need to understand different segments have different kind of mental models, right? That's why we actually split based on segments. So the route is 2. So if you don't have the segments, you need to at least have 5. If you have segments, I think minimum 2 per segments.
Yeah, I second his advice. Usually, if you can go for 3 even, just so you can see a pattern. And I think it's and it also depends on other factors, right? Like how much time do you have? How much resources are at your disposal? And I think it's a very common question that you ask, like how much research is enough research? And you have to make that call as a designer. Like, do you understand about the problem enough? So that's wonderful. Inka also asked this other question: Is your team standalone, or is it part of a service design team? Right? Do you have a service design team in your agency?
Yes. So we actually work in tandem actually. So we are like 2 departments that works together.
Yeah.
So there will be more focus on the concept. Our side will be more focused on the execution side.
Yeah. So for those of us who don't know what service design is, can you just explain? What does the service design team do? Yeah.
I think mostly So I think the name speak quite clearly, right? They design a surface, right?
Yeah, that's right. That is correct.
So basically, it's a role that they design a surface, and I think the role that how it works together with UX actually is surface will be more focused on the concept itself. So they will come to us like, hey, we have these ideas to create probably like a new catering surface, for example, and they will come to us with like list of features, like product brief actually. Then we
Yeah.
take the product brief and start to build a design out of it. I think that's roughly how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would be an example of this that your service design team would design? Is there any example? Like, would you consider maybe like the banking experience a service design? Like, let's say they redesign the entire branch office or something like that.
Yeah, I think something similar like that. Yeah, I think that's one of the good examples.
Okay, wonderful. And then you and your team will then take care of like the digital, say the website, the app, and all that stuff. Okay, that's really wonderful. I think that gives a good overview. Inka, I hope we answered your question. Please let us know. And for everyone who's tuning in, we have Hendry dialing in from Jakarta, pretty late over there. So thank you for staying up. He's the director of UX for Wunderman Thompson. So we're very lucky to be joined by people from Indonesia today. So feel free to ask any specific questions or even insights into the Indonesian market as we go along. We're happy to take a few other questions. So tell me a little bit about, how did you get your career started? Who gave you the opportunity to do UX? Like, how did you convince them? Like, hey, man, I'm a designer, but then I can do UX too. Like, how did you who gave you that opportunity and how did you convince them?
Actually, the people actually is on this call. Actually, there's my boss over there called Chipta. I think he's the one that the first time gave me a job.
All right, so yeah, let's thank Chipta over here. Chipta, thank you for for giving Hendry the opportunity. If not, he wouldn't be in this call. So yeah, you wanna share the story about that, Hendry?
I think 8 years back ago. So I applied to this company called XM.
Yeah.
You know, I think Singapore have
Yeah,
XM.
XM Asia Pacific. Yeah,
Asia
one of
Pacific, yeah. So I applied to this company and I start to apply as a graphic designers. Then when I applied for the jobs, they meet me, they talked with me, right? And then I think the first time I met is the art director because I want to be a graphic designer at that point. Where he meets me and we have quite a lot of discussion. And I still remember my one of my best portfolio is I create an interactive game at that time, something that I'm really proud of. And that guy see my work and see how I explain stuff. He was like, "Hey, I think you should better to work on UX. I think because you have a good logic." And that's where I met Chipta actually there. And then I met Chipta and we talk and I think actually he might likes me and he accept me, and that's where I start and I learned quite a lot with Chipta as well until today.
That's awesome. Chita, you want to unmute yourself? You want to like say a few words? Because we have Hendry here. You changed the life of a designer 8 years ago.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, sorry, I'm with my kids. So...
Yeah, no worries about it. So yeah, feel free to. Is it convenient for you to speak or?
Yeah, probably just 1 or 2 words for him. So yeah, it's a pleasure working with him previously, and yeah, I saw that he has the talent for UX, and then yeah, just give him the push for it, and all of it is just his hard work lah. It's not from someone else. Yeah.
Wonderful, but you had the eye to see that talent in him. So thank you so much. If not, we wouldn't be having this conversation tonight. So Chipta, thank you, and feel free to kind of like share when it's convenient. So Hendry, like who are the people you look up to, right? Like in your career, like as you go along, who are the mentors and who do you learn from, and things like that, as you're growing as a designer.
I'm actually, if you talk about mentors right now, right, I think I don't have specific one that actually I really right now.
Like earlier you mentioned you listened to John Mader, so I'm assuming that you kind of like listen to and follow his work as well. Yeah.
I think two designers that actually I've been following for ages now. The first one is, I think, a German designer called Tobias Fansnader.
Mm.
Well, he used to be a product designer at Spotify as well.
Yeah.
He used to work at Fantasy Interactive as well. And I quite like the way he approached things, because he is one of the people that are very logical and doing design. And he always say that, hey, your design works when it sells, right? He always say about that a lot of his design work are very successful. That's why I really like what he's doing. And even and interestingly is like he can make a very beautiful design that still works. Sometimes a lot of beautiful design lost its value, right, along the process, but he's still able to see, he can still put a lot of crafting to it. And second one is also I think a design. So from Fantasy Interactive as well, I think Anton Reponen, I don't know heard it before as well. So he left Fantasy Interactive and to create his own agency. Both people actually I follow, because again they can create something so logical but so beautiful as well. And if you see on UX World, you see some of the designers that are very focused on usability, right? And they lost the beauty of it, but it's still very usable.
Yeah.
But me is like I like to create something that are usable and also beautiful. So that's why I follow these two people.
Wonderful, and thank you for sharing. I think that's wonderful that you shared like design inspiration for you. So now you're a team leader, right? Because you're leading teams and you're growing your team. And I think the basis of this conversation was because we were talking about training and some of your training needs as well. So I was just trying to understand, in terms of like leadership, how do you like, who do you look to, for inspiration, or how do you learn about leadership? As you're growing.
I think so. One thing about myself is, if I talk about leadership, I think I learned a lot from my mom.
Wow, nice. Tell us more.
Because I think so. My mom is a very, so he appreciates freedom so much, right?
Yeah.
So like no like I don't know about the moms, but my mom is like, whatever I want to do, he was like, you do it, but be responsible of it. Right? So that's what I do. I learn from that. I actually apply to my team. I tell to my team, hey, you can do whatever you want. You can start working at 12, but make sure be responsible of it, right? And
did you just say like your team members can start working at 12 and oh wow, you give your team that level of autonomy. That's awesome.
Yeah, because if you want to have a good team, you need to trust them, right? And I trust them 100%. And I told them, hey, no, because everyone have a different kind of problems. And some maybe like some have kids, some maybe have a parents at home they need to take care of. So I always give that kind of autonomy to them, because I want them to able to work well and also to take care of a family, right? And I don't want to be a boss that you take away their life,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
give that kind of autonomy that, hey, you can get your freedom, can do what you want, but make sure you finish work that I give to you. Right? Or not, you're gonna suffer. That's what I'm saying.
Or the whole team is going to suffer, right? Because like someone decides not to do his or her work.
Yeah. That's not normally I do that. Yeah, that's one of the main things, and I think so far I think it's quite working well, because I think everyone likes that freedom.
Yeah.
And I think it gives everyone their own kind of because everyone works in different kind of ways. It's not possible to push people to work at 10 or 8, everyone at 8. So it's really hard, right? So I want to give that autonomy to them.
Okay, that's really wonderful. So tell us a little bit, any more wisdom from your mom, like, or leadership advice from mom. So she says, take responsibility, right? And do whatever you want, but take responsibility. That's mom wisdom number one. Any other wisdom that you learned from your mom?
What else? Yeah, I think that's something. I think the second one is about trusting people, right? And my mom is like, trust me so much. She won't stop me from doing anything, as I say to you.
Yeah.
And by giving that trust, so I think freedom and trust go hand by hand.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you can give people
trust.
freedom, but you don't give them trust, it's gonna be useless, right?
Yeah.
You trust people, but you don't give freedom, it's useless as well.
Yeah.
So it go hands by hand. So that kind of trust level is something that helps me to be responsible of my life, and also direct my team. Because when I trust them, hey, I say to them, hey, I trust you to do this. make it happen, right? That's what I normally do.
Wonderful. So Henry, we have another question from Stephanie. Vita, will come to you in a bit. So Stephanie say, what is the ideal workflow in your agency? Because her context is because sometimes project deadlines make us have so little time to do research, which is true. So how do you optimize the research and what method do you usually use? Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's very interesting questions, right? I think I'm a bit against on you on that. There's always enough time for research, in my opinion, no matter how
always
small.
Enough time. Okay, we're going to quote. There's always enough time for research.
There's always enough time for research.
Okay.
I think if you read this book from Steve Crook, I think
yeah. Don't make me think. Yeah.
No, I think there's another one called Rocket Science Made Easy.
Oh, got it. Rocket surgery or something. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. That book it shows that research is so simple. You can do it in 5 minutes actually. And that's something that we try to do in our office, right? If we don't have time for like a proper research, we were like, hey, can you help me? We will put someone in the office, use this application and tell us what you think. And it can be as simple as that, or it can be like one phone call away. Just call them, hey, what do you think about this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
So I think research can be really, really quick. It's better to have like a small research than to have nothing.
So what are some of the common research methods that your team use? Because understanding that you guys work very fast and very lean. Yeah. So what are some of the favorite methods?
I think interview is the one that we use the most actually.
User interviews. Yep.
Interviews, right? Normally, if we don't have time, we were like, okay, we have 5 questions, so who we can talk to. So we talk with people in the office. So we see, okay, or we do have something for moms. So we find people in the office that
are moms.
Segment, and we just call them and ask them 5 questions.
That's
something that we always do, no matter how short the process is. I think that's the fastest and the easiest one. It's the easiest qualitative and it's the fastest qualitative as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think this is great as well. When I was at Unilever, I recall teaching UX to the brand managers, and I say, hey, there is no excuse for you not to talk to your customers and prospects because someone is a customer within your own social network. Yeah. So I think that's something we can all learn from there. So Vita asked you this question, what is the best project you've ever worked on? In your own personal opinion, what's the best project you ever worked on?
It's a very tough question, actually.
Oh yeah, you've worked on so many projects.
It's not about so many projects because it's hard to define what best project is, right?
What's the definition of best?
Is it like the smoothest one, or is it like the best performing one? Because every single time we have different kind of answers, right?
What would you say? Like maybe the most memorable experience? Yeah.
I think one work that I always bring up to everyone that want to know me about more is like this. I used to create this app like in 2015. It's been a while, right? So this app is actually a product of Unilever, partnership of Unilever and Google actually. So Unilever has this pool of competition internally of all agency, and we can pitch idea in, right?
Yeah.
So we win that pitch with these ideas, and one of the perks actually can build these ideas with Google.
Oh wow, that's amazing. That's a good benefit.
That's very interesting benefit. So we are actually we fly to YouTube headquarters in Mountain View, and actually we present the idea to the Google team over there, and they give some input to improve over there. And then after that, few months after that, we bring the idea back. You
mean this happened, Henry? Your team went to Mountain View and
actually I went to Mountain View.
You went to Mountain View and you presented to the Google team there. Wow, that must have been an amazing experience.
And actually, they help us to revise the ideas, and we build it in Indonesia and we launch it.
Okay, is the project out there? What is the project called?
It's out there, but it's being taken down because
got it.
I think we're like working FMCG clients that way, where not all of them appreciate that kind of projects.
I see.
If they doesn't serve a sales result, they're gonna take it away.
Okay, but I still think this is an amazing story, right? That you had a competition and the client allowed you to fly to Mountain View and you work with the team at Google and he got some like a great experience working with the team. So we got two more pretty technical questions which I want to cover. And hello to our friends from Singapore, Jade and Joseph. So Jade asked, what are your thoughts towards designing for Google material design versus Apple human-computer interaction guidelines? So does your team follow these guidelines like closely? Google material design, Apple HCI guidelines. Yeah.
I think it will depends of so we follow, but we don't follow like 100%. I will be honest to you. So we will depends on the project itself. If you see that the clients actually, so Indonesia mostly most of Indonesian users are Android users, right? So most of the time we will design for Android. So we will apply material design as much as we could, and so based on that, I think most of us we actually use Google material design compared to the Apple
HCI guidelines. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So I'm not sure if we answered your question, Jade, or is there something specific you want to ask between these two guidelines? But yes, Google material design is usually used for Android, and Apple HCI guidelines are for iOS design. Yeah, so both are great. Both are very, very well written design systems.
But I think because Asian are mostly, I think around 80% of penetration of mobile phone is Android, so we mostly design for Android.
Yeah, and it's great. I think that's something to note for, right? If you're tackling the Indonesia market, make sure you have something designed for the Android, because that's the majority of the mass market and the users. So Joseph asked, when you hire a UI or UX designer, what do you look out for, especially when that person has no work experience, right?
I will search for the logic. I will. So I think logic is one of the biggest difference between a good and bad designers, right?
Yeah.
Normally, what we do is we always give them a task. So we give them a very simple task to do, like for example, like 3 slide. So we ask them to come back with like, can you create a one-side map and also one homepage based on this brief?
Yeah.
So we will give them a 1 page long, and we will see, okay, based on that result that he created, can he actually think about the logic of it? If they have the logic, no matter how junior they are, we're gonna take them in, because from there you can grow them quite easily. Rather than you have someone that kind of very good at designing, and you can see, okay, can craft something so well, but when you give them the task, he can create the design. Sometimes the design looks very good, but there's no logic behind that. All the logic is wrong. He doesn't understand how to categorize things together, that we're not normally gonna take them. So I think that's one of the biggest things that we look at.
So as I understand, you try and hire a thinking designer, right? Someone who, that's it's good that you issue a test. Do you have a favorite question that you ask in order to try and understand the way they think about logic? Yeah.
I normally ask this question: if you join a team, how can you improve them 10 times?
Wow, that's a tough question.
I
would be stuck if you asked me that.
Sometimes I think one of the most interesting answer that I get is like, he said that, hey, I will teach everyone to think reverse engineering. I was like, okay, that's interesting, because when everyone can think about how to reverse things behind, because you can, people that can, if you can teach people to think behind, you can see everything, right?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most interesting answer that I get so far.
Wow, I think that's a pretty good answer, right? He's essentially saying, think like an engineer. I'm gonna teach everyone to think like an engineer.
No, nothing like that, but how teach everyone to reverse engineering things.
Okay, cool. So that's an interesting answer. So let's see if there are other questions. Feel free to just kind of like chime in and ask them. But Joseph, I hope we answered your question. You have to kind of work towards being a thinking designer. That's definitely one of the key things. One of the things I advocate a lot is this critical thinking skills. There's a way to kind of like train it. I encourage my team to write reflection journals. I also encourage people to just spend their free time to break down websites and just analyze and see what's the pros and cons of website. That's some of the things I did. So Dimas is asking Hendry, hey, hi, Hendry. What are some of the biggest trends in UX design right now?
I think there's this design style called Big Sur. I don't know whether you heard it before or not. So there's something that picking up quite a lot of noise lately. So Big Sur is basically flat design that they give shadows.
Okay, flat design with shadows.
I think
Okay.
that's the term. I think the term is Big Sur. I think BIGSUR, Big Sur for soft
Yeah.
UI. I
Yeah,
think that's something they're actually picking up quite fast lately.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's an interesting trend. I've personally seen come and go as well. Like how do you kind of like feel about this trend that's picking up?
It will depend on the client as well. So some of the clients. So when we work with client, we have a very strong branding, so we cannot do too much with that. So we normally don't follow these trends. But when some clients that they say one of the brief is like, hey, I want to create something that looks very modern and there's some client that needs that, right? So we normally apply the trends, but rarely but to be honest, we rarely apply to any design. So we normally follow the brand guideline and the usability guideline as well.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you for your question, Dimas. I hope we answered it. And I'm sure you can do a bit more research in that area. And thank you, Joseph, for contributing by saying this is soft UI. So I'm going to do something completely new. I haven't done this with the other guests. So let's see how this goes. So I'm going to ask you a few short and quick questions.
Okay.
And you need to give me like a 1-sentence answer or something. Okay. So I'm going to start with the first question. Black or white?
Black.
Okay. Favorite book?
Favorite book. Damn, I've been liking this book from Mike Montero, Ruined by Design.
Okay.
That in my mind lately. Yeah.
What's the title again? You said
Ruined by Design.
Ruined by Design. Okay. That's your favorite book. Okay. What is your favorite Indonesian dish?
Favorite Indonesian dish, sate kulit.
Okay. Can you describe it to friends who don't know what that is?
So sate kulit is like a chicken skin that have been stuck into a steak and being grilled.
Oh, wow.
You eat it
Okay.
with like a peanut butter sauce, something like that.
Holy shit. That sounds really good. Okay. So what's your favorite music genre?
Favorite music genre? I heard a lot of orchestra, actually.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any favorite musician in terms of orchestra?
Joe Hisaishi, actually.
Joe Hisashi, right? Okay, that's really awesome. From the animation series.
Yeah, he worked a lot with Ghibli, actually.
Yep, Studio Ghibli. So in terms of TV series, what are you on to right now? Like what's the drama that you're hooked on?
I've been following Dark a lot because it trains your mind. It is really complex storyline. So it's like you're working and while watching a movie at the same time. But I quite hook on it right now.
So Dark on Netflix. That's your favorite. Okay, Game of Thrones or Westworld?
Game of Thrones for sure.
Game of Thrones for sure. All right, favorite character in Game of Thrones?
Favorite character, Tyrion for sure. Tyrion, yeah.
All right, Tyrion Lannister.
Jon and Tyrion, but I was like, I'm going Tyrion this time.
Awesome. Okay, last question. Favorite travel destination?
Japan. I think I've been there for a lot of times right now.
Yeah.
But right now I'm really into Sapporo, actually.
Really into Sapporo. What's the reason that's drawing you to Sapporo?
I think it's just I think it combined the metropolitan and the nature life really well, right? So from Sapporo,
and it has good beer as well.
good beer and very good seafood.
Oh, wow.
I used to be like, oh, pork is the best meat in the world, right? But when I go to Sapporo, it's like, oh, uni is the best meat in the world right now. So it changed my mind.
That's awesome. All right, Hendry, I think that's been really fun to have this conversation with you. I hope you learned and you enjoyed this session as well. So everyone who's in this chat, I'd like you to do a couple of things for me. Number one, if you could, if you're in the Zoom chat, can you help us fill out this feedback form? By filling this up, it helps us to improve our content and just help us to kind of like know you a little bit better and how we can serve you better. Number two, if you want to thank Hendry, I think the best one of the best ways you can do is, I'm going to just share my screen very quickly. Is for you to just share what you learned this evening from the entire conversation, right? What was the thing that stood out for you? If you want to take a photo of this, feel free to do so as well. Something that our company uses. And at the same time, you can tag me, you can tag Hendry, and Hendry, can people connect with you on LinkedIn, right?
Sure, no problem.
Yeah. So Hendry Chou on LinkedIn, that's one of the best ways to reach him. If you share the content from tonight, I will I look at the hashtag and I will send you a guide if I have your email. If not, I'll just reach out to you, right? As I mentioned, because of the COVID situation, a lot of events have been cancelled, and especially UX events. And community is such an important thing where we get to learn from each other. So I've also decided to spend time every week to kind of conduct workshops. So if you're interested in user experience design and you want to learn a little bit more, I happen to do a workshop that's between 1.5 hours to 2 hours every Monday. It's the same time as well. And you're welcome to contribute to charity if you feel like you found a lot of value from it, right? So this is a completely free workshop. So next Wednesday, we have a guest from Singapore. His name is Murphy, and Murphy does something quite unconventional as a designer. He works at the COO office, right? And he tells me that he doesn't push pixels in the COO office. In fact, he uses design to solve problems at DBS Bank. So Murphy will be joining us. He'll be sharing some of his experiences in healthcare as well as financial services. So I'm looking forward to having a chat with him as well. And if you are interested in breaking into the industry and maybe you need some help, I'm happy to have a chat with you as well. Just feel free to reach out to us. We have a unique online coaching program where you get to do real projects with real clients from around the world. And you get mentors from around the world joining to kind of like mentor you as well. And personally, I'll be also running and leading the program and helping you as your project advisor and mentor. There are 3 things, right, that you need in order to become a great UX designer. Number one, you need the technical skills, which is something that's quite easy to pick up, and there's a lot of online courses on it. Number 2, you need great communication skills, right, and great career skills. And number 3, as what Hendry talked about, you need strategic thinking skills, right? So I happen to specialize in helping people refine their communication and career skills and their strategic thinking skills. That's my specialty. I used to work as a product manager, used to be the e-commerce architect at Razer. So that's something I'm good at doing. So if you are interested in our coaching program, which is coming in October, feel free to reach out and speak to me. And we have a great crew going on right now. So if you haven't got on our list at CuriousCore.com, and if you haven't signed up and you're still tuning in, feel free to go to CuriousCore.com. There's a free webinar tab on the menu bar. Feel free to put in your email and sign up and be part of the list and be part of the community that's growing. Now we have friends from Indonesia, which I'm really happy that you're joining us tonight. Some of you are dialing in late as well. So my final request is just take a couple of minutes to fill out the survey if you're on our Zoom chat at the moment. Hendry, any last words from you?
I don't think I have actually, but I hope you have a good time tonight. And if you guys want to reach me, feel free to. And if you have other questions, you can hit me up at LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for the offer, Henry, and I'm sure it will benefit many designers. You never know, right? Like, I mean, someone gave you the opportunity 8 years ago. Look where you are right now. If you reach out to Henry, maybe he's able to help you and that's what community is about. That's how we kind of like help each other to kind of progress in our career.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, if that's all from all of us over here, I wish you a very good evening. Just take a couple of minutes and do me the favor, finish the survey form. If you like to leave, some positive comments for Henry, or just to like thank him, feel free to kind of like leave your comments on the chat. And in fact, why not let's take a Wi-Fi or something. I've never actually done this. We still have a few people. I think this is quite a memorable moment. Let's just go into kind of like mode over here. If any of you would like to turn on your video and just do a Wi-Fi, just feel free to do that. Just take a couple of minutes. If it's convenient for you. If not, I mean, I have your names, I have your portrait photos. Those are all great as well. Okay. Oh, Raiden, is that? Oh my God! Oh man, that's an interesting one. Ryan Reynolds. That's Harry. Thank you for turning on your video. So I'm just gonna take a quick photo. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, wonderful. Thank you all for joining us, and feel free to complete the survey. We have a free gift if you finish the survey. And thank you all for joining us, and feel free to just kind of give a thumbs up or anything before you leave the room. All right, and goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, you got several thumbs up, Henry. I'm gonna take a screenshot of that. Lovely. Thank you for joining us. It's interesting that they call you Chou, like they call you by your surname.
Yeah, I think that's when my first company, right? So my surname is Chou, and they just like call me that, and every single day they call me Chou from there.
Oh, that's how it works. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Oh well, it's been a pleasure tonight. Thank you everyone, and wish you a good week ahead. All right.
Thank you